Hey, what's going on, team? It's Ricky with Learn Plan Profit. Hope you guys are all having a good start to the morning. I do apologize for the 10-minute late start this morning. I was just restarting my computer and took a little bit longer than expected. But as of right now, I'm just going to do a quick little recap on kind of what the four main ETFs or futures, right? What's trending up, what's trending down. As you guys can see, natural gas based off of previous close from yesterday. Where's that at? So right around this general area. Well, this would be the general close, right? That led to today, and then it has been trading between the middle and bottom VWAP. So it's been kind of selling off, showing signs of a descending pattern. /CL, this is where it closed at. It's kind of been all over the place. It was showing signs of an uptrend, then aggressively sold off. It pushed up, then sold off, and then pushed up. And then it makes sense on why it can sell off. So I'm watching this very closely. Look at the RSI, look at the MACD. It looks a little bit more on the overextended side. Now we're just simply waiting for confirmation of lower lows on this. Right now that it looks a little bit more on the overbought side, but we definitely don't want to trade against the overall uptrend pattern. No, we know better than that. When it comes down to /GC, we could see that /GC since its close as of yesterday has been showing signs of an uptrend, and then has been it's kind of this is the part that like I was getting bothered by yesterday. It's not super clear what's trending up and what's trending down. The only one that's super clear is natural gas. Natural gas has been consistently making lower lows and lower highs. That's all. Other than that, crude oil, right? So /CL, this thing was pushing up, pushing down, pushing up, pushing down, pushing up. And now it's overbought, overextended, and now it makes sense on why it's going to pull back. Same thing with /GC. It's been uptrending, downtrending, uptrending, downtrending, and then uptrending. So /NQ is no different. It was showing signs of an uptrend, aggressively sold off, pushed up, tried to recover, and then as soon as the market opened, aggressively sold off. So one of my biggest things, or one of my biggest takeaways from yesterday is just, be extremely, especially if you're under the PDT rule, be extremely selective with what you choose to take part of. As of right now, again, this thing looking a little bit more on the overbought side, it's still validating the EMA line as a support. So it's still showing signs of an uptrend, and it has not made lower lows just yet. So what's up, tension? Oh my goodness. Okay. But you guys get the point, right? So if you guys are struggling to identify, if you guys want to call something out that I have not already talked about this series of futures, feel free to post it in the ticker call out format. So thoughts on TVIX? I would not say that it's any different than, right? Yeah, so this would be very similar to like the inverse, right, ETF of the S&P 500. So yeah, this is TVIX, so it's the inverse of SPY. Yeah, okay. So yeah, I think something to keep a close eye on is then /ES. And see how these, now this thing is super oversold, and it makes sense on why this thing can recover. So it makes sense why TVIX is then super overbought and why it can begin to pull back. So a little bit more on the overbought side than oversold. So just something to be aware of. We got DRIP. Okay. Looks like it was showing signs of an uptrend. It began to sell off. Yeah, it looks like it's trying to bounce off of the SMA line, right? So it looks like we're trying to get a bounce off the SMA line and make higher highs. We just got to wait for confirmation, right? So kind of go with the flow and kind of take it day by day. So I like the pattern and the setup on this one, especially since it was making or trying to make higher highs. Have you changed your moving average exponential from 9 to 18? No, mine's set at 15. It's just preference though. Okay, AMD. Okay, AMD looks like it's trying to still consolidate right around this SMA line, which could be viewed as a potential support. No confirmation of higher highs just yet, and last time that it did, it still got rejected. So just keep an eye out for that. Let's see. Okay, watching. Look at the RSI, look at the MACD, right? Alright. There it goes. Alright, so forward slash CL, again, the pattern that I kind of see with this one is it's pushing up, pushing down. Overall middle VWAP has been acting as a support, as you guys can see here and here. I don't know if it's going to sell off all the way down there, but just wanted to at least give it some time to try to see if it would. So here we go. Looks like it might be pulling back a little bit right now before it continues to uptrend. So how long are you holding for, Ricky? It's not a time period that I'm holding for. It's until the pattern completes itself or the direction changes. Alright guys, looks like, again, what I'm looking at on my second screen over here is /CL. Waiting for it to sell off a little bit more as it approaches this middle VWAP. Can be viewed as a potential support, but honestly, it looks like it's already trying to build the support around this general area. If you look a little bit closer, look at the MACD, look at the RSI, it's beginning to kind of flatline or at least consolidate here, so it's not selling off as aggressively anymore. I can try to give it a little bit more time to see if it continues to sell off, but I just want to remind you that if you're in this position in DWT, there's nothing wrong with locking in profits. At the very end of the day, you're trading to learn, not trading to profit. So I would encourage you, if you want to, right, to lock in profits and simply walk away. It makes sense. Why? It's consolidating, and we can just keep it as simple as that. So it's going to most likely try to push up. Let's see. And there it goes. Can you explain what consolidation means? It's, just building a support, right? Or it's building a resistance. You can Google the term consolidating, but it just really means that it's like flatlining, right? It's building almost like a horizontal pattern. But it's just a term that we use for either building a resistance or building a support. What's going on, Jake? What's up? What's up? Looks like I'm going to have to get out here. Yep. There we go, making higher highs. Yeah, so I'm down $506 so far on the open. So on this position, I'm down $500. If I saw this thing break above 58.20, I was going to cut losses. I'm just going to have to end up cutting losses here. Looks like the overall direction is changing. I'm kind of getting frustrated with how inconsistent the market's been the past 2 days. So I might have to take an L for today. Oh, guys, it's not that like oh like I'm taking an L or anything like that. It's that I trade based off of patterns, right? And in my eyes, they have to be consistent patterns. And if I don't see there to be anything that's consistent enough for me to be able to analyze and determine a true direction on, it's going to be that much more difficult for me to actually be able to make a profit, right? So it's not that like, oh, like, you know, at the very end of the day, I trade based off of patterns. And if there's no consistent pattern that I can trade, it's probably best for me to walk away. And that's what I learned from yesterday. You guys saw me multiple times. I went from red to green, red to green, red to green. Shortly after the stream, I think I was red before the stream started. I turned green, and then I went back to red before the stream ended. I went back to green shortly after, barely, right? I took another trade, went red, and then took one more trade, went green. It's that roller coaster of emotions that I don't want to put myself through. I don't see it to be worth it, right? When we can have very solid days and be able to make, twice as much in such a short period of time, and it's much more enjoyable. So at the very end of the day, it's just feeling comfortable with what you're doing, right? And making sure that you have a decent enough setup. I thought this one made sense, and correct me if I'm wrong, but to me it made sense. Crude oil looked a little bit more on the overbought side, looked overextended, and it made sense on why this thing could pull back. It looks like I was right. I just got in way too late. I already got in when the action was already happening, and I tried to be a little bit more efficient with the trade. But my position size, I thought I added with a lot more than I did, and I did not. It sold off a decent amount, but not. I think I was up $300 or $400, and that's not very much with my position size. It's just. Well, we did a good job. We did a good job identifying the pattern. I could have done a better job with my entries, but you never know, right? So, yeah. All right, I'm down 156. Now I'm down 226. Let's see. I keep taking profits early. How can I improve that? Well, I think over time, Isaac, I think that's not a very big issue to have. But over time, you can, begin to maybe trade with less and feel more comfortable holding a little bit longer. Because I think a lot of the time, the reason that people decide to lock in profits maybe a little bit too early is because they become anxious of, just selling their position, right? Because it's, they're scared for it to give back some of the profits. So if you get that out of your head and you just focus on the pattern and you trade with less money so there's less emotion to it, I think that can maybe help you out. At least it did for me. Here we go. Building a support. All right. Natural gas. Natural gas is still selling off. For those that think that this is a change of pattern or change of direction, just remind yourself that, this thing, look at the RSI, look at the MACD. The overall direction is still descending. It's broken above this multiple times and still sells off. So don't be so quick to think that the overall direction has changed. Again, I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that you can make is where you think that the direction just completely changed after it's been selling off for literally hours. So UWT pushed up quite a bit. We got /CL. It pushed up all the way up to, pushed up pretty aggressively and pulled right back down. I'm just going to have to give this more time. So I took a $500 loss on that trade, $508. But yeah, I'm kind of over it for that. So yeah, so we already broke down AMD. And we talked about it in the 180-day chart and how it's consolidating, but still no confirmation of an uptrend. What do you think about DYAS? Well, looking at /NG, I would say that DYAS is probably, if this pattern continues, if and only if, right? If this actually begins to continue to sell off, then DYAS would be more at a potential support, right? The spread between DYAS, between the ask and the bid, or the bid and the ask, are always pretty high. So I would say that it definitely needs time for confirmation, and the margin of profit might be there. It might not, depends on your approach. But again, confirmation is key, and it would still make sense on why you might want to give it a little bit more time. /CL is right back to all right, BAC selling off. It sold all day yesterday. It looks like it's selling off today. Yep, aggressive sell-off. SMA line showing signs of a sell-off. EMA line pointing down. There's absolutely no reason that I would want to even touch this. Everything is showing signs of a peak sell-off formation. So yeah, what's going on, Isaac? All right, sounds good, brother. Hope you have a good day. It's at the SMA line. It's been a descending pattern, and if you think that it's going to do what it's done before, again, just remember, it's been a consistent overall descending pattern, and although it can push up, it needs that confirmation. So right now it's at a critical point where it needs to make higher highs to confirm this overall reversal. As of right now, I would go with the flow, and based off of this and the RSI and the MACD, it's at a resistance. So I would not view this to be at a support in any way. Why did you stop trading DGAS? I saw more potential in /CL and the way that that's been trading. Here we go. Potential rejection. Look at that RSI. Look at that MACD, right? Should be interesting. Right, so we talked about this, what we think can happen. If this thing continues to sell off and follow through with its previous pattern, if and only if. Patterns tend to repeat themselves, they don't have to. Please take note of that. Then that means that DGAS could potentially bounce here, right, just like we said, and then continue with its uptrend. The margin is decent based off of previous patterns, even not at highs or anything like that, but just based off of previous patterns. We could see that around the EMA line to that very common resistance is about 1.6%. So definitely attractive, no question about it. Yeah. That's a good question, Prolate, or what is it, Protolate? So when you identify a potential buy and there are multiple resistance, but there are high resistance, seems to be worth it. Yeah, so if it's on the day or, a swing trade, I would then just take it day by day. But the biggest thing, again, is that the deal is so good that it outweighs, like the margin of profit outweighs the margin of loss, right? So if I were to say, let's say Protolate, again, I have 5 iPhone X's. So it actually looks like natural gas is selling off and degas is pushing right back up. But very quickly, if I have 5 iPhone X's, right, they're all worth $1,000, let's say, resale value. And they're in a box and you can buy them for $100, right? Is it worth for you to like drive 1 hour to potentially buy them for $100 and be able to sell them each for $1,000? Yeah, going through all that hassle and all that stuff might be worth it, right? Especially if you plan to resell it for a profit. Same thing when it comes down to these series of like stocks and ETFs. You're given so many options, right, of what you can choose to take advantage of or not. Some have higher margin of profits than others, and some have higher risk than others. So just make sure that you don't just think about the profit, but you also think and take into consideration the loss. Because again, being realistic, more people lose money than actually make money in the market. So if you're always just so focused on the offense, then realistically, I don't think you're doing your part as a trader to, actually grow and manage that risk. It sucks, and trust me, it 100% sucks having to take a loss, but it's part of the game. So, and it looks like /CL got rejected right around 58.20, and yeah. Adam, I would say like if you can pick up on a pattern and it happens once, then so be it. If it has to happen multiple times, just realistically, every stock is different, right? So like if a pattern is consistently showing signs of an uptrend, I don't know how many times you needed to confirm that support and that resistance for you to feel comfortable taking that position. So it all comes down, like you said, to preference. So there's not an amount if it happens once, I can pick up on the pattern usually, and then I'll just follow through with a plan and then follow through with that. So, all right, so we got there we go. Okay, so it looks like it's kind of flatlining. It's trying to show signs of an uptrend. It was a very consistent sell-off, right? So we've talked about this and looking at /NQ, right, which is the correlating future. So looking at this and on the 180-day chart, we can see that this is definitely at a resistance. This is one of the stocks that I talked about that I think that's very overbought. And SQs was one that I said that was very oversold, right? It's very similar to, what is it, SPY? Is it SPY? No, SPY is the other one, so it's TVIX. What I just want to remind you is that there's no true confirmation of either one of the markets of S&P 500 or NASDAQ selling off yet. It's consolidating, but not really selling off. So let's just take that into consideration. All right, guys, we have about 2 more minutes left. Okay. All right, so right now it looks like it's starting to show signs of an uptrend, right? Definitely a little bit more on the overbought side, right? Overextended. So is this the best deal? And how that correlates on over to JNEG, right, Leo? So now that you know where gold is at and how overbought it is this the best thing to hold, right, JNEG? Possibly not, right? JDST, more out of support, again, but if /GC continues to uptrend, then great, but as of right now, based off of previous patterns, it's definitely, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it definitely looks like it's a little bit more on the overbought side than oversold side. So I'm confused about the commission fee for TOS. Do you get charged the fee when you buy stock? When you buy a stock and then when you sell a stock, that is a fee per trade, meaning after selling. No, it's per entry and per exit, Samuel. So if I like buy, those will be 3 commissions that I pay, and then when I sell, that's 1 commission. Yep. Yeah. There we go. /GC showing signs of a potential rejection. Let's just wait for confirmation. Natural gas, just like we expected, continuing with that descending pattern, but watch out. It might try to build a support here, so it doesn't have to sell off just like it has before. This is something that we see very often from the transition from pre-market to, after the market opens. The patterns don't have to follow through with it, but it does make sense on why it can sell off. It just doesn't mean that it has to. It's been building a kind of almost double bottom around this, so we might not actually make lower lows on this one. And then /CL, really now starting to show signs of an uptrend, but look at this. It was showing signs of an uptrend and then sold off. Showed signs of an uptrend and then sold off. Showed signs of an uptrend and then sold off. So it kind of is still making higher highs in a sense, but higher lows. It's just very inconsistent. And just like we talked about yesterday, at the very end of the day, if you don't feel comfortable taking any of these positions, simply don't. Call it a day, set your alerts, watch, and then just keep it at that. So I'm already at a $508 loss. I'm kind of already really I'm not frustrated with the market. I'm just becoming more impatient. And the more impatient I become, the more prone to mistakes I put myself out there to be. So let's just keep it consistent. That's going to be it for today. There's just not much going on right now, team. But I really do appreciate you guys, just stopping in and tuning in to the live trading today. And I will keep you guys up to date if I end up taking any other positions under the trade ideas section. And I'll try to post updates on natural gas, crude oil, gold, and the overall market for /NQ and the correlating ETF. So it looks like /CL is pulling back once again. Again, it's not making lower lows. It's really just consolidating. So it's frustrating, is it not? Like it's just like it's like, oh, I'm about to sell off, psych. I'm about to sell off, psych, and then it goes, I'm uptrending. So let's just go with the flow. If we don't see the margin of profit to be worth it, if the risk is not worth it, if the trade is not worth it, please don't waste your day trade. Especially for those that are under the PDT rule, don't pay that commission. Be selective. Don't waste that day trade on just any opportunity, because at the end of the day, if it's not worth it, then it's probably not worth taking. So thank you guys again for your time. Continue working hard. Continue following dreams. Let your passion be what drives your success. And like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take it easy, team.